Hey guys, I hate to sound the alarm, but there's a potential national emergency that will happen next November. Um, Smoke alarms, changing your smoke alarms battery, and the time change from standard to daylight savings, and then back from daylight savings to standard time, has always been associated with the time change. Every time the time change your battery. A few years ago, and it used to be, I think, equals 6 months. I didn't ask the Google, but I'm sure it was probably based on the spring and fall solstice. I think it's the right word. But a few years ago, they lengthened the time of daylight savings time, which, if you know how our government works, they were planning for this day. So, um, the Senate in March passed a bill to put us all on, make the time year round daylight savings times. I'll get in the second national emergency has to do with that, of it going to daylight savings time. But the first potential national emergency is due to this. If you are unlike me and you actually trust the government and rely on them to control everything you do in your life, you're at a risk because you'll never change your batteries in your fire alarm. So, and they're also called smoke detectors. Um, fire smoke, fire creates smoke. But so you are potentially at risk of your house being on fire and you not knowing it. The sun's coming through. So, which means if a fire happens in the middle of the night, your batteries are dead. You may not make it. But luckily, only the Senate has passed it. The House is lukewarm on it. So hopefully they won't. So call your congressman, not your senator, your congressman. And the second national emergency that it'll create is if they're going to make it one standard time, they should actually make it the standard time, not the daylight savings time. And here's why. Yeah, they want the daylight longer in the fall and in the winter. But the next national emergency is going to be once it gets into late November and December and then January, because at the winter solstice is when days start getting longer and daylight starts getting longer. We're going to start having, this is actually somewhat serious, we're going to start having kids waiting for buses in the morning, and they're going to get hit because they're going to be kids. Parents aren't going to watch them. Drivers aren't going to see them because it'll probably be 8 o'clock before we have daylight here where I'm at. And I'm in Tennessee. I went to Ohio one time, and they were, in the Eastern time zone, and it was dark forever, like 8 o'clock. I mean, it was depressing. But it is the North, too, so that may have something to do with it. But something needs to be done. Call your congressman today and say, vote no. Or tell them to present another bill and say, vote yes to standard time. And they also need to come out with clauses on something, guidance or whatever. I mean, they should probably ask the CDC to give guidance because everybody believes them on COVID. So, well, not everybody, but some people, a lot of people. But that they need to give guidance on when to change your batteries in your smoke alarm. I would suggest, to get a fairly even 6 months, I would suggest Memorial Day and Thanksgiving. Yes, they're not exactly, it rotates, but that's a good almost 6 months apart. And I'll tell you one more thing. Um, this doesn't have to do with the national emergency. I bought a voltometer one time for a totally different reason, I think. But you can test the voltage in a battery. And AA and AAA batteries are 1.5 volts. And people who don't understand what that means, it's 1.5 volts. When you get a new battery, it actually volts out at about 1.8. And then when the battery dies, I've tested it, they're actually like at a 0.8. They still have juice, just not enough to power whatever you're needing it for, like a remote control. So, if that was a human, because what do? When the battery's dead, you throw it away. If that was a human and you embalmed him, you just murdered him. So, we got to find a way to recycle these batteries because they still have a little juice in them. But that's all I got. Bye.